You are 12 years old, and the first lesson you learn is this: your body is a document. Your silence is a signature. And the men in the room are already writing on you. It is 1443. February breathes its frost through the limestone walls of Bletsoe Castle. The air smells of damp stone, of mint crushed into the rushes, of men who haven't bathed in weeks. You stand very still under the tapestry of St. Margaret, a woman swallowed by a dragon and clawed back out by faith. You don't yet know why you keep staring at her embroidered face. But you will. In the great hall, velvet sleeves rustle like moths. A fire sputters in the hearth, but does not warm you. It only casts flickering shadows, moving shapes of power across the men's faces. They are not speaking about you. They are speaking through you, around you. You are the space that inheritance must pass through, the corridor of bloodline and legality. Your name is Margaret Beaufort, and today your name is being sold. You do not speak. Not because you do not wish to, but because you understand, already, that girls who speak become girls who are broken. Your guardian, William de la Pole, Duke of Suffolk, raises a goblet with a hand heavy with rings. The girl brings Somerset, Devon, Dorset. Her inheritance will anchor our alliance. He doesn't say your name. He says the girl. A term with less weight than horse or estate, but more transactional usefulness. John de la Pole, the boy who will be your husband before the month ends, sits 3 paces away. 14. The hair. Freckled. He glances at you once with terror, then at the floor, then nowhere at all. You are both children, but only one of you will be devoured. The saints on the walls stare down, silent. The fire crackles like bones snapping. The first game begins. Endure without flinching. The prize is not survival. It is silence. You wear blue silk on the wedding day. It smells of damp velvet and lavender stuffed hems. The chapel is small and cold and aching with ceremony. The bishop speaks in Latin, but every word lands like a stone in your stomach. John's hand trembles when it reaches for yours. You say your vows, voice even, trained like a falcon on a perch. The ring presses down on your finger like a verdict. That night there are hands, and there is blood, and there is a silence that stretches so wide it becomes its own room. You learn to move your mind elsewhere, to a place where your body is not yours, but also not theirs. It simply doesn't exist. You are 13 when you become a widow. He dies of fever, the child husband you never looked at directly. You are told over embroidery, the needle still threaded in your palm. You do not look up. Your guardian watches your face for cracks. There are none. The first victory, he cannot tell if you are afraid, which means you win. Just a little. Grief is not yours to feel. It is not grief you need. It is time. You are rich now. Your inheritance is restored to you. Briefly, before another hand reaches out to claim it. The king's voice echoes from Westminster, you will marry Edmund Tudor. You do not get to say no. To say no would be treason. To say yes would be obedience. There is no choice. There is only choreography. At 14, you understand politics more than you understand touch. You know how to trace the path of your estates through ledgers and lips. You can calculate the value of land in Dorset faster than you can recite a prayer. You do not remember how it feels to be a child. You only remember how it felt to be sold. The second wedding is grander. Gold threads bite into your wrists where the sleeves cling. The bishop blesses this union more elaborately. The guests toast louder. The bed is larger. Edmund is a man. He knows what this night means, and this time you cannot escape into the illusion of confusion. After, when the candles gutter, you lie very still, eyes open to the black, and you realize you will never belong to yourself. But you can belong to something bigger than them. Pregnancy at 13 is a kind of execution. Every breath aches. The castle walls press closer. Midwives fuss with herbs. They speak of healthy boys and narrow hips. They do not mention that you are still small enough to wear your first wedding gown. They do not say the word death, but it curls under their tongues like a nettle. You do not pray to survive. You do not pray for the child. You pray for clarity, and when the pain comes roaring, shredding, you understand. This is not death. This is the blade you will carry into the war ahead. The child survives. The son. You name him Henry. You name him for the king. But inside your bones, you name him weapon. Edmund dies before Henry is born. Captured. Beaver. And just like that, you are 13 again. A widow. A mother. A pawn. But this time, you understand the rules. You study maps. You count debts. You listen through walls. You become fluent in Latin, fluent in betrayal, fluent in the fear. The ink from your letters stains your fingertips. No one knows how many messages you send, or how many plans you bury behind quiet nods. You marry Henry Starford for protection. But you never forget that protection is temporary. Power is not gifted. It is gathered. And you begin to gather. Years pass like slow-moving armies. You are no longer a girl. You are the mother of a child in exile. England drowns in its own blood. Walk against Lancaster. Brother against brother. You choose sides, not for loyalty, not for pride. You choose the path where your son survives. You write to France, to Wales, to exiled nobles and tired generals. You begin to be called Lady the King's mother before the king himself exists. In 1483, Richard III takes the throne. And now, the endgame begins. Richard watches you. He does not trust you. He shouldn't. You promise fealty. You promise silence. But your letters move faster than his spies. You meet with Stanley, the man who will be your final husband. A survivor. Like you. A chess master who smiles while poisoning pawns. You make a pact. You protect my son. I protect your name. Neither of us will fall, because we are not playing the game. We are moving the board. The Battle of Bosworth is not yours to fight, but it is yours to win. Your son returns. Very 17. Lean and sharp. A blade you have spent your life forging. He takes the crown. He becomes king. And you, Margaret Beaufort, become the mother of a dynasty. But no crown is ever worn without loss. You sacrificed your childhood, your body, your freedom, your voice. And now in the echoing chambers of Westminster you walk alone beneath the great arches. They bow to you. Lords who once sold your silence. They kiss your hand. They seek your favour. But you remember the chapel, the blue silk, the ring that cut your knuckle. You remember being 12. You fund colleges now. You build schools. You walk gardens in silence. You give away wealth like it was never yours. Because it never was. You are Margaret. Mother of kings. Architect of legacies. Daughter of no one. They carve you in stone, but they never ask what it cost. And in the dark, when the candles have burned down, your voice whispers to no one, I learned to play their game. But I did not play to win. I played so that no girl after me would ever have to play again. You do not sit on the throne, but every breath the king takes begins with you. You know the timbre of the court's applause before it begins. You know who will kneel too slowly, who bows with hunger instead of reverence. You have seen the way they look at your son, the cautious hope, the brewing contempt, the calculation. You recognize it. You were raised by it. You were raised for it. But Henry does not see what you see. He sees the crown. You see the hands already reaching for it. So, you build walls. You arrange marriages with the precision of a cartographer drawing fault lines. You erase threats with kindness. You do not punish. Publicly, you simply redirect their ambitions into safer corridors, like water through stone. You whisper names into your son's ear. Trust him, not him, never her. He listens. He doesn't always understand, but he listens. And so, the court begins to fear you not because you rule, but because you do not need to. There is power in suggestion. There is power in choosing not to speak. You are no longer a girl being offered. You are the one writing the offers. At council meetings, your chair is never at the centre. It is slightly behind the throne, slightly in shadow. But ministers glance at you before finalising anything. The ambassador from Spain watches your hands as you fold your gloves. The Lord Chancellor stumbles over his Latin when you lift your eyes. They do not ask why the king's mother is here. They ask if she will stay silent. And they pray she will. But silence is no longer a prison. It is a throne of your own making. And still no one asks if you are happy. You would not know what to say. What is happiness? A warm fire. A soft room. The child who returns home. You have had all of these things. And none of them. You have spent your entire life building security. No one told you security was not the same as peace. Sometimes, at dusk, you walk alone. The corridors of the palace, too quiet in the evening, a different kind of battlefield. You stop beneath the painted saints. You remember Bletso. You remember the saints watching you then. You wonder if they remember you now. In your private chamber, there is a lockbox. Inside are 3 things: the ring from your first wedding, still too large. A scrap of lavender, pressed and brittle with time. The first letter your son ever wrote you, signed only your grateful son, Henry. You have read it so many times, you no longer see the words, only the pressure of the pen where he pressed too hard. You touch it sometimes, but never when anyone is watching. You begin to fund churches, schools, hospitals, not for piety, for permanence. A dynasty can die, but a library can live forever. Your foundation in Cambridge begins as a brick, then a spire, then a vision, a future in which knowledge is not owned, it is weaponized against ignorance. You walk among the bookshelves in your old age with reverence. They do not speak, but they carry the voices of those who will outlive you. And this, you realize, is the game's final turn, not the crown, not the castle, but the echo, the story you write, long after your body is gone. The years pass. Henry rules well. Carefully, cautiously. He never becomes the warrior you feared. He becomes a ledger in motion, efficient, calculating, withdrawn. He loves you. You know he does. But his love is buried beneath duty, as yours was. You watch him age into your mirror. And you wonder, did I make him king? Or did I make him me? In the final year of your life, the palace grows quiet. The boy who once fit in your arms now carries the weight of a kingdom. You see less of heir, but you feel him constantly in the laws passed, in the treaties signed, in the choices made from patterns you taught him. And then, he dies. Before you. Before you are ready. Before any mother should have to say goodbye. The morning of his funeral, you walk into Westminster Abbey. The crowd parts. You do not bow. You do not weep. You take your place beside the coffin and rest your hand upon the lid. You whisper one sentence. No one hears it. But every woman in the room, every girl who once stood silent before men feels it. And in the echo of your silence, history changes again. Your death comes not long after. Quiet. Dignified. You leave behind no scandal, no confession, only impact. And a question, was she powerful because she was silent? Or powerful because she survived the silence and turned it into something the world could not ignore? They bury you in the abbey, a bronze effigy. Hands folded, face serene. But they do not bury the girl in the blue silk dress. She still walks. In every woman who learned to read, because you funded a school. In every mother who built something that outlived her. In every strategist who learned to bend the rules instead of breaking under them. The girl who was married at 12. The girl who gave birth at 13. The girl who played the game before it had a name and won it by never playing by the rules. She was not made of stone. She was made of silence and fire. And both are hard to kill. You are no longer watched. Now you are observed. There's a difference. To be watched is to be feared. To be observed is to be weighed, assessed like a seal ring or a royal document. It is quieter, more dangerous. Observation means you are not suspected of a crime. You are suspected of capacity. And that, you have learned, is much worse. Because now, when you walk into the room, they stop speaking not to silence you, but to wait for what you will say. Power, in a woman's hands, is never named aloud. It is handled like a blade, unseen, but never unfelt. The wars haven't ended, they've simply changed costume. No longer chainmail and banners. Now letters and silks and marriage contracts. The Yorks still breathe. The Woodvilles whisper in corners. Pretenders rise like weeds in June. Your son paces at night. He counts ships. He counts soldiers. He counts betrayals. And you. You count names. Every name that once sold you. Every name that once dismissed you. Every noble house that treated your womb like a contract. Now they send gifts. Now they ask for appointments. Now they marry their daughters where you point. You never raise your voice. You do not have to. You have become what they feared you might, an educated woman who remembers. But remembering comes at a price. You keep to yourself. More now. You attend court when necessary, never idly. You stop writing poetry. You stop playing the lute. You stop laughing in hallways. You have learned the lesson that all powerful women eventually learn. Visibility invites correction. Quietness becomes armor. Softness, a luxury afforded only to the protected. And you are not protected. You protect others. Sometimes, alone, you whisper a list of all the things you will never have, a life chosen by love. A conversation with your son not steeped in strategy. A sleep without ghosts. A childhood. But you are not a woman of regrets. You are a woman of ledger and outcome. You made a boy king. You survived what should have broken you. And now you are building something that may never fall. Still, the court waits for your stumble. One misstep. One moment too open. They send spies dressed as confessors. They send maids whose eyes linger too long. They leak whispers. She is too involved. She is too present. The king's mother should not be so visible. They forget who funded his army. They forget who raised the crown from exile. So, you begin the second phase of your plan, inheritance through influence. Not just the bloodline, but the shape of the monarchy itself. Not just Henry, but the future of England. You found schools because you know ideas last longer than men. You choose tutors because you know loyalty begins in the classroom. You endow churches not for God, but for memory, because the church will keep your name sacred even if history tries to erase it. You begin shaping your grandson's path, a boy named Henry, like his father. The child is stubborn, charismatic, too much like fire and not enough like stone. But you see the potential, and you begin again to watch, to teach, to maneuver. Always one step ahead of those who believe they invented politics. But even now, you walk tightropes. Your son's court is filled with men who fear your voice, yet copy your strategies. The queen smiles too little in your presence. Her ladies say you overshadow her. Some ministers whisper that your grief for your husband was too short, that your ambition was too long. Let them. They did not carry a crown through blood-soaked mud to give it to their child. They did not bury husbands in winter and newborns in danger. They did not endure silence and hunger and childbirth at 13. You did. And no man alive has earned the right to question the woman who walked through fire and built a throne from its ashes. But strength, too, is tiring. You begin to write more. Not just letters, but prayers. Long ones. Quiet ones. Prayers, not for forgiveness, but for understanding. You begin to feel it, not death, but closing. The sense that your life has served its purpose. That the next fire must burn from the sparks you've scattered. And you accept it. Not because you long for peace, but because you finally believe it may be safe to rest. The night before you fall ill, you dream you are 12 again, standing in the great hall at Bletsoe. But this time, no one is speaking about you. They are speaking to you. And you are not afraid. You are listening. And when they ask you what do you want, you do not answer aloud. You lift your eyes, and the walls burn down. They think legacy is built in war rooms. They are wrong. Legacy is built in ledger books, in foundations, in stories whispered in candlelight, in the small inked lines of wills and grants and burial requests. And Margaret Beaufort, the girl who once had no say in her own wedding, now begins the final chapter, curating her memory before the world does it for her. You do not trust memory. Memory lies. Memory can be stolen, rewritten, erased. But architecture endures. So, you build. The College of St. John at Cambridge rises from blueprints into towers. You write its statutes yourself. You oversee its financial structure. You select not just its founding scholars, but its future. Let learning flourish where ignorance ruled. You do not say these words aloud. You do not need to. You engrave them in brick and rule. You understand that buildings outlast bloodlines. And even now, after power, after courtly applause, after the shaping of kings, you still feel her. That small girl. The 12-year-old with frost-bitten fingers in a hall of men who never said her name. The girl who was called the girl. You carry her still. And now, for the first time, you speak to her. You did well, you whisper. You survived what should not be survived. You gave shape to chaos. You never had peace, but you made peace possible for others. You became the architect of everything they said you couldn't understand. History would later call you my lady the king's mother. But no title could hold what you were, kingmaker, queen of silence, matron of strategy, mother to England's second birth. And even as your body weakens, your mind sharpens. You outlive your son, King Henry VIII. It is a strange thing to survive your own creation, to walk the corridors of Whitehall and realize you have become myth. Not because you were kind, not because you were loved, but because you could not be erased. And still, in private, you are not a legend. You are a woman with worn hands and thinning hair. You are a mother who never got to rock her baby to sleep without fear. You are a wife who was never loved first. Almost. You are a girl who never ran through grass barefoot. And yet, you chose to build instead of break. You chose knowledge over revenge. You chose discipline over indulgence. You chose the long victory, and now, you choose what they will remember. You write your will with the clarity of a sovereign. You detail how you wish to be buried not beside a man, but beneath the abbey, beneath the seat of power, beneath the altar, not the throne. You choose your effigy, hands clasped, eyes closed. No crown. You leave instructions for a bronze tomb, heavy, simple, enduring. You do not want beauty. You want permanence. And you give away your remaining wealth to causes that do not need to thank you because gratitude fades, but records remain. You die in 1509. The exact date is remembered not for your death, but because your grandson, now King Henry VIII, ascends the throne weeks later. He becomes famous, infamous, a hurricane of ego and appetite. And still, you remain the foundation beneath him, the stone under his feet. The woman whose whisper moved empires. They bury you beneath the abbey. And the girl, the one who stood among men and was not named, finally rests in a place where no one can speak over her. You do not have to be loud. You were never loud. You were final. But listen not with your ears, with your memory, and you hear it. That echo, beneath the stained glass, that quiet power that reshaped England, and no one saw her hands move. She is still there. Every time a girl reads a book in Cambridge, every time a king signs a law his mother once inspired, every time a child asks, who was the woman beneath the abbey floor, the answer comes, soft and unrelenting, she was not born to rule. She was born to be ruled. But she changed the meaning of both. She played the game before it had a name. And she won. Not with swords, not with fire, not with prophecy, but with silence and endurance and time.